long history of me doing videos and showing you guys ticket sales. The great majority of the tickets for this game were sold prior to the Mercury game the other night. Why? It's simple. Kate Martin plays for the Los Angeles Sparks, and people thought they were finally going to get the Caitlin Clark, Kate Martin reunion game tonight.
Attention turns to the previous night's matchup and head coach Stephanie White's post-game remarks, where she appeared genuinely thrilled, having just gotten to coach the exact roster configuration she seemingly prefers, one without Caitlin Clark on the floor. Clark sat out due to a combination of injuries, including issues to her back, throat, and groin, largely stemming from the rough physical contact involving Alyssa Thomas in a previous game. Ticket sale tracking, something followed closely and documented repeatedly over time, showed that the bulk of tickets for this particular game had already been purchased before the earlier matchup against Phoenix. The reasoning behind that is straightforward. Kate Martin currently plays for the Los Angeles Sparks, and many assumed this would finally be the night fans got to see a reunion moment between Clark and her former Iowa teammate.
Right. And they didn't get that. I know we talked a lot about a boycott. I never expected that to show in the attendance. I didn't. Where it's going to show is the television ratings, which is where it counts, all right? Ticket sales are great, and yeah, we very much take note when there's 2,000, 3,000, 4,000.
That reunion narrative never actually materialized on the floor. There had been considerable discussion beforehand about a potential boycott, but the expectation was never that it would show up in ticket sales. Rather, the impact would likely surface in television viewership numbers, which is ultimately where it matters most financially. Ticket revenue matters, and missing chunks of 2, 3, even 4,000 fans certainly get noticed, but a significant portion of buyers had purchased seats specifically hoping to witness that particular reunion. Footage showed Clark walking out for warm-ups the previous night, with Martin visible nearby.
1,000 fans missing, but people had bought tickets to try to see this right here. All right, this was Caitlin Clark walking out for last night's game, and there's Kate Martin right there. And people, they come out. That Iowa connection is star power.
That Iowa connection clearly carries genuine drawing power with fans. If league officials fully grasp that, there would likely be far more aggressive marketing built around Martin, Lucy Olson, and other players with ties to that Iowa program. A snapshot from roughly 5 minutes before tip-off showed a noticeably high number of unsold or empty seats scattered throughout the arena. A bootleg stream happened to be running on YouTube, allowing a brief look at the building during the opening minutes specifically to track seat fill rates.
That Iowa connection is star power. And if the WNBA realized that, they would market the shit out of Kay Martin, Lucy Olson, and anybody else that even sniffed the Iowa roster. I mean, seriously. So, this was the look 5 minutes before the game, okay? Right here, you can see there were a ton of tickets.
To be fair and transparent about it, most of those empty seats did eventually fill in. There's no exaggerating that point. Plenty of seats remained open, but the majority did get occupied, even though many of those same fans had been hoping specifically for that Clark Martin reunion moment to play out. One social media post circulating afterward celebrated the game ranking as the third highest attended of the season, framing it as a rebuke to boycott efforts tied to political motivations. That framing doesn't hold up well. There's no clear reasoning for connecting attendance to any political angle, especially given that the tickets in question were purchased days in advance, confirmed by tracking done before the Phoenix game even happened.
A ton of tickets. Now, or a ton of empty seats tickets. A ton of empty seats right up here, 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 right up here. Luckily, somebody had a bootleg stream going on YouTube. And I tuned in for the first 2 or 3 minutes just to be able to see seats. Most of these seats got filled up. Okay, I'm not going to.
Television ratings remain the more accurate gauge here. Worth repeating, a large share of the crowd showed up expecting to see the Clark and Martin reunion specifically. Don't let anyone frame last night's numbers as some kind of victory prematurely.
Come on here and blow smoke up your asses. Most of them got filled. There were empty seats, but most of them got filled, and people thought they were going to get to see that connection. Now, this asshole decided to post this. Glad the third highest attended game this season got to see the game and piss off MAGA boycotts. Well, I answered because
if the CBS national broadcast ratings come back below roughly 1.4 million viewers, that's a meaningful drop-off worth noting, especially considering a recent nationally televised game pulled in somewhere around 2.5 million viewers. Should last night's broadcast land under 1.5 million total viewers, that would indicate a substantial chunk of the audience simply tuned out. And in professional sports, that's exactly where financial consequences hit hardest. Media rights deals are where the real money flows, so hitting a franchise or league financially comes down to viewers simply not watching. Full stop.
You know me. Not sure why this wacko thinks this is political. Also, these tickets were sold days ago. I checked prior to the Mercury game. The TV ratings will be the measuring stick here. By the way, people thought they were going to get to see Caitlin Clark and Kate Martin. Okay, so that's a thing. That's a thing. Do not let people let you believe last.
Returning to White's post-game comments, the level of enthusiasm on display was almost hard to stomach. It's also worth noting the opposing roster that night was missing 2 of its key contributors, and was already a fairly unremarkable team to begin with. Realistically, this version of the Fever right now is a middling squad, and that should just be acknowledged honestly.
Night was a win. If the CBS ratings come back and they're less than, let's say, 1.4 million, well, didn't they just have a nationally televised game that was like 2.5 million viewers? If last night's game comes in at less than 1.5 million viewers, then yeah, a hell of a lot of people tuned out.
In her post-game remarks, White praised her team for handling business comfortably, expressing appreciation for a stress-free outcome, high energy throughout, and consistent execution while building on an early advantage. She singled out guard Ty Harris specifically, calling it the highest form of respect to trust a player with starter minutes and significant playing time, knowing she'd deliver. The arena erupted in applause and cheering as White acknowledged Harris recording her first career three-pointer.
Stephanie White and this whole Indiana Fever situation involving Caitlin Clark. It's looking more to me that there's clearly an issue going on in Indy. There's clearly an issue between Stephanie White and the Fever organization. It's clearly an issue between not just the organization, but her and Caitlin Clark. I feel like Stephanie White actually might be the one for sure leaving after this year. I just got to be honest, man. A hunch is just telling me.
White continued praising the overall team effort, calling it a genuinely strong collective win before sending players off for a short rest period. Elsewhere, Kelsey Mitchell also had reason to celebrate after putting up around 26 points in the contest, understandably pleased with her own performance. A post from another observer pointed out the visible contrast in how White delivers praise, appearing nearly emotional while complimenting Harris's performance, while compliments directed toward Clark tend to come across as reluctant or get diluted into team-wide credit rather than individual recognition.
Leaving after this year. I just got to be honest, man. A hunch is just telling me, based off everything I've seen at these games, body language, everything that I've seen thus far, let me know Stephanie White probably going to get fired after this year. I'm damn near 60% sure, bro. Let's roll.
Great job. I'm really proud of you. It was nice to not sweat one out, right? It was nice to come in and to have high energy right? To play together, to continue to build on a lead. Ty?
That contrast has been hard to ignore for a while now. Getting White to compliment Clark directly seems to require considerable effort, almost like pulling teeth. It's clearly not something that comes naturally to her. Last season already revealed plenty about White's preferences as a coach.
Play together, to continue to build on a lead. Ty? It's the ultimate, I hope you understand it's the ultimate compliment that we can trust you to start you in a game and to play you these kind of minutes and to know that you're going to show up. Bree Hall! Was that your first career three, right?
Yeah.
Looking long-term, that dynamic from last year seems likely to eventually create real friction in Clark's future with the franchise, or in White's own job security. It's hard to see both lasting in Indianapolis together. Either Clark eventually grows frustrated enough to request a trade, or White ends up being the one let go. From an ownership standpoint, retaining Clark should be the clear priority no matter what. There's no scenario where losing her makes sense for the organization.
Really good team win. I'm proud of you guys. Get a couple days to get some rest.
So that was the scene after the LA Sparks game last night, man. And we exposed that the attendance was very low at this game, man. Judging off many photos and everything that was released online, the Indiana Fever are in a world of trouble. A world of trouble.
You know what's funny?
Now, Sophie Cunningham kind of throws Brianne January.
Separately, this entire saga has generated a massive surge in viewership for content covering it. Arguably the highest engagement numbers seen on this channel all year, with a dramatic spike over just a few days. A related channel covering similar content also saw its strongest viewership in a long stretch. The driving force behind all of it remains the same: interest in Caitlin Clark, plain and simple.
Now, Sophie Cunningham kind of throws Brianne January under the bus yesterday on her podcast, and the Fitness Mercury as well.
Though,
Let's listen.
we are not going to win very many games when people score 100 points on us, and they average, I think, around 80 points, and we let them score like 111. Our defense is horrible, and I think everyone knows that. We are not going to win.
So y'all heard her? She said our defense
I know
is horrible. Who's over the defense? Brianne January is a defensive specialist, ? Players on her own team.
Viewers are encouraged to share whether they tuned into the broadcast themselves, since that will serve as an informal gauge heading into the official ratings release. It would be unusual if the television numbers for this particular game didn't eventually surface, especially given it aired during prime time on a major network, making it difficult for those figures to stay hidden for long. Official numbers are expected sometime around Tuesday, and those ratings will ultimately serve as the real measuring stick for how this all played out.
Defense. Brianne January is a defensive specialist, ? Players on her own team are broadcasting to the world that their defense are horrible. Just
People
horrible.
in their own organization that, like, nobody likes their team this year. They say that they are like the unfriendliest group. So we're not the only ones who feel that way. Internal people feel that way too. You know what's funny though?
She's talking about right there, Alyssa Thomas and them. Now, this was Charles Barkley's
cannot have
resurfaced.
This ladies, and I'm a WNBA fan. They cannot have.
A newly released clip from the Indiana Fever has drawn significant attention online, with many viewers reacting to the visible emotion head coach Stephanie White displayed while addressing guard Tyler Harris following a recent win. The reaction stands out, given that Caitlin Clark, prior to dealing with back issues, had been producing strong individual numbers. Nearly 20 points per game, on what some described as an MVP-caliber stretch. Yet similar emotional praise from White, toward Clark specifically, has been harder to find. The contrast has fueled speculation that there may be underlying tension within the organization, not just broadly, but specifically, between the head coach and her franchise's biggest star.
This ladies, and I'm a WNBA fan. They cannot have this Caitlin Clark thing up any worse if they tried. This girl is incredible. The number of attention, eyeballs she's brought to college and the pros And for these women to have this petty jealousness, you say to yourself, damn, what is going on here? And the thing I love about her, she never says a word. But these ladies who I love and respect their game, they couldn't have this thing up in it.
Based on body language and overall patterns observed across recent games, some observers believe White's tenure with the team could be nearing its end, with a fired-up fan base increasingly expecting a coaching change once the season wraps. In the clip itself, White is shown praising Harris warmly after the team's win over the Los Angeles Sparks, calling it a high-energy team performance and highlighting a milestone moment for the player, her first career three-pointer, while thanking the group for building on a lead together. The broadcast also noted that attendance figures from that same game appeared low, based on photos circulating afterward, adding to broader concerns about the franchise's current standing.
Ladies who I love and respect their game, they couldn't have this thing up any worse. There's been so much negativity, and a lot of it is just petty jealousness.
And that's all it still is. This was coming back from Caitlin Clark rookie year when Charles Barkley said this, guys. It's still the same thing going on. The assaults is still happening to Caitlin. As of right now, I don't think that it's going to change. This is how it's going to be. Now, Evelyn DR stated this. She said Stephanie White was on the verge of tears.
Separately, Phoenix guard Sophie Cunningham made comments on her own podcast that some viewed as an indirect jab at teammate Breanna Stewart and the Mercury as a whole, openly criticizing her own team's defense as a major weakness this season after a high-scoring loss. Cunningham's remarks were notable given Stewart's reputation as a defensive-minded player, with some pointing out that even players within that organization seem to acknowledge internal issues, including comments suggesting the team isn't well liked by opponents around the league. The discussion also revisited past remarks from NBA analyst Charles Barkley, made during Clark's rookie season, in which he argued the league couldn't have handled the situation around her arrival much worse.